State of Decay 2 is not a game that is going to wow you right out of the gate. Within the first 15 minutes of playing, you will realize that game is full of unnatural looking animations, as well as so many bugs that you'll feel like you're at your local Motel 6. But what State of Decay 2 does have is a deep and addictive gameplay loop that, despite its many flaws, does the open world zombie genre better than anything that has come before it on the Xbox. When the game opens, you are given roughly half a dozen couples to pick from to start your journey. It's a diverse cast, and I was really impressed with the gender and race options they give you up front. At least one of the couples should appeal to just about everyone. The only downside is that I would have loved to have seen an in-depth character creator, and I think the Undead Labs team really missed an opportunity to have their audience transported more personally into this world. Once you have your group locked in, an opening cutscene starts you out at a generic military base that you and your new couple can begin to explore, which is ultimately used as a tutorial for the game's mechanics. It walks you through the basic combat and loot mechanics, which are the two main things you will do in the next 20 to 30 hours. When you reach the end of the tutorial, you are given 3 location options you can take your newly created group of survivors. I chose to play on the plateau map during my 30 plus hours I put into my first community, but I also had a chance to experience part of the valley map. Considering Undead Labs could have created just one map and built the entire game around that, I think this is a huge differentiator for this game when compared to other open world games. It also more than makes up for the lack of character creator. Once you get out of the tutorial and arrive at the chosen map, it's time to find a home base for you and your crew of 4. You will be given a mission to set up shop in a fenced-in location that is large enough to build a couple of base add-ons, as well as a house that will turn out to be an ever-growing community. If you can keep the resources coming, of course. This is where State of Decay 2 really starts to shine. The map is full of items, and even though there is a finite number of places you can loot, you will not run out of places that are holding goods and treasures that you are going to be looking for throughout the game. In my time of 30 plus hours with the game, I've only looted about 20% of the available locations. My one gripe about the loot system is the fact that the looting minigame forces you to take the same amount of time to loot everything you open, whether it's a lunchbox or a packing crate. Now they do add a bit of risk reward with this, in that you can actually accelerate your loot speed at the chance of grabbing the attention of the zombies, or Zeds as the game calls them. I found myself using the accelerated looting about 80% of the time in my playthrough. You will find no shortage of weapons and ammos to boost your zombie killing ways in your loot hunt. In my first few hours, I had all 5 members of my community locked and loaded with pistols and enough ammunition that no Zed situation was a challenge. Supplies for your base and community were easy to come by, as are vehicles and the requisite gas to power them. The game doesn't make it tough to get through per se, but it was always dangling a carrot on a stick in front of me to loot more places or complete more missions. The missions are a mixed bag and boil down to escort or loot missions for the most part. The nice tie-in is that every mission you do for another character in the game affects their view of you, and eventually you will get to a point with other NPCs where you can have them join your community, or you can murder them and take all their hard-earned loot. It all really depends on the type of zombie apocalypse story you really want to tell. The character progression system from the last game is intact and improved in this one. Each character has their own set of skills which you can level up. These skills can be specialized once you have done enough of the given activity to level those up. And all the specializations, once selected, give a nice boost to character abilities, like increasing stamina, carrying capacity, or even giving you a new fighting move. It was cool to find new characters who had different skills, so I could envision how it could benefit my community in the long run, and help improve my base of operations. Each character also has their own unique storyline you can follow and complete during the game, and I found myself trying to do as many of these quest lines as I could while playing it. There were a few downsides to the system, one being that when you select a storyline for a character and you play as them, switching characters would then abandon the mission. I also ran into an issue in co-op where a friend of mine was trying to turn a quest reward in for us, and because it was my character's mission, the game gave us a 10-second warning that we were doing something wrong, and before we could figure it out, the mission was cancelled. I never had the opportunity to do that mission again. The game would also constantly let me know that a character mission was available for certain characters, but they would not always be active. I ran into a few scenarios where I would play for an hour before they would be playable again. I expect there to be a patch to fix some of these bugs in the short term, but they really are detrimental to the game at times. You will eventually get to a point where characters earn hero status, at which point you can consider who you want to lead your community. Once a leader is elected, this will dictate how your story ends and the direction your community takes to get there. In my playthrough, my leader was a sheriff, aka Rick Grimes, but there are also builders, traders, and warlords, all who will take your community in various directions and change the way your game ends. As far as base building goes, it was hit or miss for me in the game. I love the ability to find new spots to move your community to, and build outposts. My big problem is that the game does not do a great job at all of explaining how to operate your community and keep the resources coming in, or what facilities are the best things to leverage to keep your community chugging along. The how to play section of the game is super limited, and I would have appreciated a deeper walkthrough into base building. It was still really fun testing systems out, and I expect it was the developer's intent to not spoon feed you on how to operate your base. Ultimately, a big part of a game like this is the zombies, and this game has them everywhere. They just never really felt like a true threat. Zombie hordes return, and this time they're packing a whopping 6 zombies max, which, unless you have a character by themselves and has no weapons, they never really presented much of a challenge. There are 5 other versions of Zeds in the game, aside from the normal ones. Blood Plague Zombies, Screamers, Bloaters, Ferals, and the Juggernauts. Each are conceptually cool in their own way, but in practice the only ones I truly found challenging were Juggernauts and Ferals, and even then, they weren't much of a challenge with a fully equipped character. The Plague Heart missions were probably the toughest challenge in the game, but with an arsenal of guns on your back and explosives, they yielded little to no challenge later in the game. Really, the only challenging enemy ended up being unfriendly NPCs you met in the game, who moved much faster than my character in most cases, and took a surprising amount of firepower to take down. Stat of Decay 2 also makes a huge deal about autosaving and death being permanent, but it's incredibly hard to die. I had a character who was solo get down 6 times by zombies, and I was still able to get back to home base with the character alive. Yes, he did have the Blood Plague, but that's a simple thing to cure, and you were given the recipe for that much earlier on in the game. I only wish the game limited you to being downed only 2 or 3 times max, making the chances of death very real. As it is, I never lost a character, and the only time I came close was due to lack of resources. But now that I think about it, maybe that's the point, right? I'm happy to say Stat of Decay 2 finally has multiplayer. Kudos to Undead Labs for including this feature this time around. It was supposed to be part of the first Stat of Decay, but it never got added. All jokes aside, this is the very best way to play this game, and the ability to have 4 friends in your world, controlling survivors from their own game is awesome. They also get to bring loot back into their games. Fatigue and in-game issues affect their characters as well, so like you, they will be rotating through their survivors regularly as they play. It was really great to visit a friend's map that I hadn't experienced yet, and gave me an opportunity to experience parts of the game that I wouldn't without investing another 10, 15, maybe even 20 hours. The game also makes it super easy to have someone join your world randomly, or join theirs randomly. This will open a lot of doors for making new friends as you game, which is something that sometimes gets lost in today's gaming climate. And there is no friendly fire, so it is hard for them to sabotage or mess you up, aside from my previous mention with quest canceling, which I doubt will end up being much of an issue. Undead Labs took the formula from the first game and added enough diversity to make Stat of Decay 2 feel like a fresh experience. From the diverse cast of characters, to the in-depth base building mechanics and everything in between, this game is the closest you are ever going to get to experiencing a real zombie or Zed apocalypse. The game is full of frustratingly small bugs, including some on-screen tearing that made me question if my TV was broken. It wasn't, but I expect to see a lot of these fixed in the coming weeks and months. For a $30 game, this is a must-buy, and your dollar goes a very long way with the amount of content you get with this game. When all is said and done, we here at the 30-something Gamers give Stat of Decay 2 an 8 out of 10. It's an absolute joy to play if you can look past the bugs, and I look forward to the additional content they're bringing in the coming months and years. Thanks again for checking out this review on the 30somethinggamers.com and YouTube. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your screen right now, and please make sure to visit the 30somethinggamers.com. That's the 30somethinggamers.com.